Somewhere on Earth right now, there's another version of you, a stranger who shares your face and you've never met them. But that's not even the unsettling part. Because for most of human history, seeing your own double wasn't a curiosity, it was a warning. And in case after case, it came true. You walked into a grocery store, you round the corner of an aisle, and you stop, because standing 10 feet away from you is you. Same face, same height, but different clothes. And they're already looking at you like they knew you were coming. And then they're gone. Now, most of us have heard the word doppelganger. Maybe somebody's told you that you have one. Maybe you've seen a stranger across a room and done a double take. But what most people don't know is that the original meaning of that word has nothing to do with lookalikes. And once you understand what it actually meant, you might not want one. Let's start with what most people believe a doppelganger is. The idea is simple. Somewhere out there on this planet is a person who looks exactly like you. They're not a sibling, not a twin, a complete stranger who happens to share your face. And the strange thing is, that part might actually be true. There are roughly 8 billion people on Earth. And while the human face feels infinitely unique, it actually isn't. There are only so many ways a face can be arranged: the eyes, the nose, the jaw, the spacing between them all. Which means, statistically, duplicates aren't just possible, they're basically guaranteed. A photographer named Francois Brunel spent decades proving exactly that. He tracked down complete strangers who looked like identical twins and photographed them side by side. People who had never met, people with no relation to each other at all. And the resemblance is unsettling. Then in 2022, researchers took it a step further. They studied these lookalike pairs and discovered something that nobody expected. These strangers didn't just share a face, they shared significant pieces of DNA. Complete strangers, no family connection, and yet written into them the same genetic code. So that's the version of doppelganger most of us are comfortable with. It's a little eerie and a little fascinating, but explainable. Here's where it stops being comfortable. The word doppelganger comes from German, and it doesn't translate to lookalike or twin or stranger. It translates to double walker. And a double walker was not another person who happened to share your face. It was something far stranger. It was a second you. Walking through the world, doing things you never did, appearing in places that you've never been. And here's the part that should give you chills. This belief didn't come from one place. Cultures that had never met, that were separated by oceans and centuries, came to the very same conclusion, completely independently. And they all agreed on one thing. If you ever saw your own double, it was a warning, because death was coming. Take Abraham Lincoln. Shortly after his election, Lincoln claimed he looked into a mirror and saw two reflections of himself, one normal and one pale and ghostly, almost lifeless. His wife Mary was deeply shaken, and she believed it meant he would be elected for a second term, but that he would not live to finish it. And we all know what happened next. Then there's the poet, Percy Shelley. In the weeks before his death, Shelley reported seeing his own double more than once. On one occasion, the figure stopped, it looked at him, and asked him how long he intended to be satisfied. Not long after, Shelley drowned at sea. Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, had her own encounter. Her servants reported seeing her sitting on her throne, while the real Catherine lay in her bed, in another part of the palace entirely. The story goes that when she was told, she walked out to face it. And when she saw the figure sitting there wearing her face, she ordered the guards to open fire. She died not long after that. Even Queen Elizabeth I is said to have seen it. In her final days, she reportedly found her own double lying on her bed, pale, still, as if already gone. But the most famous case of all doesn't belong to a king or a queen or a poet. It belongs to a quiet schoolteacher named Emily Saget. In the 1840s, Emily taught at a school for girls, and by every account, she was great at her job. There was just one problem. Her students kept seeing two of her. It happened in front of entire classrooms. Emily would be standing at the front of the room writing on the board when a second, identical Emily stood beside her, mirroring her movements a half second behind. One time, the entire class, more than a dozen girls, watched her double sit calmly in a chair at the front of the room, while the real Emily was clearly visible outside the window working in the garden. And here's the detail that stays with you. The student said that when the real Emily moved, the double moved too, but slower, heavier, like it was tired, like being a copy took something out of it. Emily Saget was reportedly let go from nearly 20 teaching positions, not because she was bad at her job, but because of the other her. Now here's what I can't stop thinking about. These aren't just dusty old stories from centuries ago. People are reporting this right now on forums, on Reddit, in comment sections, to their own families quietly because they're afraid of how it sounds. And the accounts they're describing today are nearly identical to the ones from hundreds of years ago. So the question stops being, is this real? And it becomes, what is actually happening? The modern stories tend to fall into a few patterns. Some people describe exactly what we started with, seeing themselves in a crowd, across a street, in a store. A version of them going about its day that vanishes the moment it's noticed. Others describe something even harder to shake. They see a loved one, a parent, a sibling, a partner, standing in a doorway, sitting in a chair, clear as day. And then they find out that person was nowhere near them. And sometimes that at that exact moment, something had happened to them, an accident, an emergency, or worse. And then there are the people on the other side of it. The ones who've been stopped by a stranger who swore they'd just seen them somewhere they've never been, who called them by a name that isn't theirs, who looked at them with total recognition and then confusion, and then a little bit of fear. So what is actually going on here? There are a few possibilities, and I'm not going to tell you which one is right because honestly, nobody really knows. The scientific explanation points to the brain. There's a real documented condition where the brain creates a vivid sense of seeing yourself from the outside, a kind of glitch in how we perceive our own body in space. For some people, it's tied to the temporal lobe. For others, it appears for no clear reason at all. Then there's the older explanation, bilocation. The idea, found all through religious history, that a person can somehow be in two physical places at the same time. Saints, mystics, people who were seen praying in one city while standing in another. And then there's the one that lives in the back of your mind. Modern physics has a theory called the many worlds idea. It suggests that every choice, every moment splits reality into branches. And in each branch, there's another version of you, living a slightly different life based on a slightly different decision. Infinite versions of you, on infinite timelines, all running at once. And if those timelines were ever to brush up against each other, even for just a second, what would that look like? It would look like seeing yourself in a place you've never been, wearing clothes you'd never buy, living a life you never chose. So let me leave you with a thought. What if the person you're looking at isn't a copy? What if they're the original and you're the version that crossed over? What if you're not seeing your double, you are the double? So tell me something. Has anyone ever told you they saw you somewhere you've never been? Has a stranger ever called you by the wrong name, completely certain that they knew you? Drop it in the comments and share your story. Because after everything we just covered, I'm not sure that's as impossible as it sounds. I'm Heather. This is Seriously Spooked. We will see you in the next one.